And so over the years, I guess, to engage and continue to have people want to work with you and continue to be under your leadership, I mean, are there some things that you have done to support them, or, how do you help continue to keep them engaged, I guess?
Yeah, whether it's, I'll always sort of trying to, like, if they need help, or I've had some people leave and start up their own, my managers that I previous have left and start up their own butchery. I've probably had about 4 that have done that, which, sometimes you think, oh, you put all that time and effort into them. But I mean, it's exactly the same as when I was young. Like, it's good. I think it's growing the industry. So you want people, like, if any of my workers were to come to me now, if my manager said, hey, I want to set up my own shop, I'd make sure that's good and say, yeah, how about I help you invest in that, or, give them along, because it's the growth. You don't want to have people just, I mean, it's lovely that they all stay, that you look after them well, so they don't look at the grass is always greener. But you want people to sort of go out and and learn things. As when I sort of started, when I learned, my stepdad said to me, you can either be a tortoise and put your head out, and each time danger comes you pull it in, or you can go out there and leave your head out, and it might get chopped off, but you're going to learn from that. And that's sort of how I sort of looked at it. Sometimes you've got to make mistakes. But my number one thing of interviews, when we were small, I used to ask them what radio station to listen to. Yeah. And if they said a radio station that I personally didn't like, I nearly wouldn't give them a job, which is really this is going back quite a few years. But and that's because I knew that you had to. When we had a small team, we had to have everyone fit. And that's harder, and you'd find that yourself when you're working in an office, that you're getting all these people from all different walks of life, and different religions, different races, like different upbringings, and where they're all sort of based. And now you're trying to have to incorporate like this. So I've got like these young guys that are 27 that love listening to the rock, and that's like out. And then I've got the old ladies that have been with me for like 10 years, 12 years, but they don't want to listen to this blaring music, and the customer does. So it's sort of like, well, to 9 o'clock you can listen to this, and then we're going to this radio station from 9 to there, and it's so it's it's a juggling act, and that's sort of trying to do it. So
And you know what, the one thing that I also think will just draw on a little bit more there is around how you've had to evolve as a leader and a manager given over time, because the world is changing. Like you said, that F-bombs and so forth were a thing of the like the industry, or it was always said around the shop. And I think people have a lot better understanding around how powerful culture is, or the environment is, to themselves, and how it can actually impact it positively on the business as well. And and they've got more of a voice now as well. So, and I think that is I think it's great that the world is being challenged in lots of ways for it to evolve. But management and leadership, you need to kind of evolve with that. Like, even with COVID and Me Too, Black Lives Matters, like all of these things are coming into our environment and really changing the world at a more rapid pace than ever. And, like when you talk about sharpening your tools with your team, as managers, we need to continue to do that as well. One, to keep up with what our people need and want and so forth. So we need to kind of continue to learn and grow. And if you can have that kind of development, curious mindset to management and leadership, and go out and continue to learn, you're going to help evolve yourself as the world evolves around you. So it was just an interesting point that I picked up from your conversation before.
Like, I'll go and you go, whoa, something's happened. Like, you can just feel that there's something in the air, and it's like, my sort of thing, I would just say, right, who ran over their kitten? Like, that's my saying, like, who ran over their cat today? Because it looks like you've got, there's not something that's wrong. So and you need someone to come in. They might, everyone's sort of like, oh, why is that person not talking to me? They're just but then you hey, what's the wrong? And it's like, like I ran over my cat, or like my grandma's sick, or something like that. So it's like, okay, well, maybe you should come and say that to me. So then when everyone knows that, hey, Bob's not feeling well today, or Bob's just a little bit sort of down, and that's so everyone understands, rather than just sort of thinking, God, what the hell's wrong with Bob? Why is he ignoring us today? So that's it's getting people to come to you and explain, which can be hard for them as well. So it's
Yeah, I think that's such a good example, and it has come up in a couple of other interviews around making sure that you are, being aware of the surroundings and picking up on those cues.
Yeah.
Because they're there and they can be quite obvious if you know your people well and if you know how your environment works. Like you say, you can walk into the shop and instantly you know that something's happened. Like that's great to be able to do it. And the good thing about it is you go in and you deal with it as soon as you can, because I'm assuming that vibe can then carry on to what the customers experience as well. But before we go, would you have any, I guess, hot tips for any managers and leaders out there to help them as they transition into management or even as they grow as a manager?
I would say so. Another thing I was always think, question, you're better off to ask a silly question than do a silly thing. That sort of say to my guys, you never stop learning as well. So you always sort of come and ask a question, because if you, which can be hard, because then you might be feeling that you don't actually know the answer, and then maybe you shouldn't be in that management role. But if you don't stop asking, then you're not going to carry on learning. Like, you always pick up on different things.